On this page of your notes, we'll be discussing cartilages. There are 3 different kinds of cartilage in your body. They're all connective tissue. First is elastic cartilage. I'll write that in green. Elastic cartilage, and then hyaline cartilage. I'll write that in pink. And last, fibrocartilage. I'll write that in purple. Elastic cartilage, like it sounds, is the stretchiest. It's the most flexible. And fibrocartilage is the strongest. And hyaline cartilage is kind of in between. It's the most common and versatile. So it's not as flexible as elastic cartilage, but it's not quite as strong as fibrocartilage. So they all have different advantages. Okay, so we'll use green to highlight places where elastic cartilage is found. And that's pretty easy because there's only 2 places in your body where there is elastic cartilage. One is your ear. If you reach up and grab your ear right now, you'll notice that it's very flexible. So the ear is made of elastic cartilage. And then this structure right here is called the epiglottis. Epi means upon, and glottis means the tongue. So it is actually on the kind of the back of the tongue, and then when you swallow, it flops down over the top of the trachea so that food's coming in this way, and it goes down the esophagus, which is a tube behind the trachea, and the epiglottis can prevent you from choking. But if you're trying to laugh or take in a big breath at the same time that you're trying to swallow your food, the epiglottis might not effectively cover up the top of the trachea, and then that's when choking can occur. So, elastic cartilage is only found in 2 places, and they both start with an E, the ear and the epiglottis, and they're both very flexible. Okay, now let's look at fibrocartilage, because it's only found in a few places as well. I have a couple of those on here for you. We'll put that in purple. So one place that fibrocartilage is found is in the knee, the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist. There is menisci. Singular is meniscus. So this is the femur and this is the tibia, for example. Then you have a medial and a lateral meniscus, and they actually connect to the bones above and below, and they are a fibrocartilage pad that helps to cushion the knee and also stabilize the knee. So if someone tears their meniscus, their knee will also be less stable. Another place for a fibrocartilage pad is a location called the pubic symphysis. And it connects the 2 sides of the pelvis. During pregnancy, hormones cause this fibrocartilage pad to widen a little bit. So a woman's hips will get wider so that the birth canal has a greater opening for the baby to be born. And in fact, if a woman has had many children or for whatever reason it stretches too much, in the 3rd trimester, sometimes these 2 bones can actually separate as the pubic symphysis is no longer even holding them together the way it used to. And as you can imagine, that would be extremely painful for a pregnant woman. And then the 3rd place where you find a fibrocartilage pad is intervertebral discs between all of the vertebrae. So, to recap, there are 2 places that elastic cartilage is found, the ear and the epiglottis. There are 3 places that fibrocartilage is found, the pubic symphysis, menisci, and intervertebral discs. And then hyaline cartilage, in pink, is found in the most places. One place it's found is everywhere where a bone meets another bone. It lines the ends of the bones with a smooth, glassy surface called articular cartilage. So that's found in all of these places, just lining the ends of bones where it meets another bone. We'll use our pink pen for that. So articular cartilage. Is made out of hyaline. Another place where you'll find hyaline cartilage is if you reach up and grab your nose, nasal cartilages. If you want to know the difference in flexibility between elastic and hyaline, grab your ear and your nose and wiggle them and see which one is more flexible, and you should find that it's your ear unless you did a lot of wrestling, in which case the elastic cartilage is replaced with tougher collagen fibers over time until a wrestler gets what's called cauliflower ear, which is when they basically have scarring of a lot of that cartilage. Okay, another place that hyaline cartilage is found is connecting ribs to the sternum, and we call those costal cartilages because the word costal means rib. And then on the front of the trachea, we can color that on here. Actually, we could draw, if this is the sternum, and then you could draw the rib cartilages. That would be costal cartilage. Okay, so tracheal cartilages, costal cartilages, articular cartilages, and then we could put the nasal cartilage over here. That's the bridge of the nose, and then the actual shape of your nose is made out of hyaline cartilage. Oh, that's terrible looking, isn't it? Oh, well, life goes on. All right, so I feel like tracheal cartilages. Yeah, there we go. So the tracheal cartilages, they form like a horseshoe on the front of the trachea. They don't go all the way around the trachea, just, you can see my hand, just the front half, so this is facing forward. They make a horseshoe shape, and then the back of the trachea is not protected by that cartilage. But those tracheal cartilages keep the airway open. And then along those lines, the larynx, or your voice box, is made up of particularly important tracheal cartilages. Okay, go down here to look at what happens with an intervertebral disc that goes wrong. Okay, so in this picture, this back here is meant to represent the spinal cord and the spinal nerve. So like imagine you have that horse or that butterfly shape. So this is the spinal cord at the back of the body, and then the body of a vertebrae would be here, and then there would be a vertebral foramen for the spinal cord to go through, and then the spinal nerves go through the intervertebral notches in the vertebrae. And in between each body of a vertebrae is an intervertebral disc. And the intervertebral disc has a lot of strong collagen fibers, kind of in rings like this. Because those collagen fibers are in nice rings, we call it the annulus fibrosus, because annulus means rings. And that's part of a fibrocartilage pad. So, to recap, we're looking at a close-up of an intervertebral disc from looking down on it instead of from the side, like in that picture. So that would be the annulus fibrosus. Actually, I should have colored this in purple. If you rewrite your notes, that would be a better way to do it, huh? So I did the intervertebral disc up above in purple. And then the center is a pulpy mass of glycoproteins. So it's kind of like a jello. And that is called the nucleus pulposus. Nucleus means it's the center, and pulposus gives you an idea of the consistency. So the nucleus pulposus is shock absorbing, and it's filled with glycoproteins. You can see in that word glyco means sugar. So these are little proteins with sugars attached, and they have osmotic pressure, meaning that they pull water into the disc. And that makes it squishy and gives it its shock absorbing value. Okay, now let's look over here at what might happen if the collagen fibers weaken and the nucleus pulposus is able to press out. We would call that a herniated or ruptured disc. So bulging would be before it herniates, but it's like a tire that looks like it's about to blow out. So even a bulging disc can put pressure on a spinal nerve, or it can actually herniate. And that's the same as rupturing, and that's the same as slipping a disc. There's a lot of names for a herniated disc, a ruptured disc, and a slipped disc. All refer to the nucleus pulposus actually breaking all the way through. Bulging disc would be mean that the collagen fibers have thinned, but they haven't allowed the nucleus pulposus to leak out yet. But you can see that in these situations, if the nucleus pulposus leaks out, then the disc is going to lose its shock absorption abilities, and it's going to press on the spinal nerves. So if you were to think about it, you might be able to come up with a list of symptoms that someone might experience. Let's say if this is a lumbar vertebrae and these spinal nerves are going to their legs, then you have to think about, okay, there are sensory fibers and there are motor fibers. So what might be some symptoms? Well, maybe some sensory symptoms might be numbness, or maybe the person complains of tingling. So they're having some abnormal sensory information because it's being pressed on right here. How about pain? So numbness, tingling, and pain are all sensory symptoms. But you also know that there's motor output, right? So if you're pressing on this nerve, how might that affect the motor functions of the muscles the spinal nerve is going to? In fact, I even help you a little more. If this were a lumbar vertebrae and this spinal nerve is heading down to the lower leg, maybe the patient is going to have some muscle weakness. They want to move their leg and it doesn't obey as much as they want. Like the signal is interrupted by being pressed upon. Or another possibility is a symptom very specific to a herniated disc called foot drop, where they're told to do something by the doctor and then their foot is not able to maintain the muscle contraction needed, and that's called foot drop.